You mentioned Lee Moriarty earlier. As we're filming this, you just faced him, and he's one that the whole world is pointing at, and they're going like he's the next one. He's the next guy. Like guys like him and Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia that are really emerging. What was that like to be in there with a guy that, quite frankly, has drawn a lot of comparisons to you, as has Garcia and Yuta?
Um, Being in there with Lee the first time at GCW, this one we kind of knew each other, so I wasn't like taken by surprise or anything.
Yeah.
But when I wrestled him at the GCW show, the first one last year, I think it was, before the match happened. I'm really cool with Alex Shelley, and Shelley and I like to talk about guys that are like-minded. And Shelley would consistently, like, he would call me, and we just have a conversation, and randomly go, "Hey, completely off topic. You have to like work with Lee Moriarty." And I'm just like, okay. He's like, no, even if it's just training, like you're gonna love him. And then like he just kept telling me. And so the stars just kind of aligned. And then GCW booked me against Lee Moriarty. I was going in looking forward to it because Shelley was actually there too. And so I didn't really. He's very quiet when you meet him the first time. He talks to me a little bit more now, but he's very quiet when you meet him for the first time. And it's kind of like, again, it's me really like settling into how I'm being viewed now. So I kept like trying to talk to him about the match, but I realized he was kind of giving me the floor, and it didn't really hit me until like 15 minutes in. I was like, oh, that's right, I'm the veteran. So that's what we're taught when we first come in. Me being in Ring of Honor, where it's like I'm with my peers, and like Lethal looks at me on the same level as him, even though I'm not. Like he kind of gives me the floor to like share ideas and go over matches with him or whatever. So in this situation, Lee just kind of let me kind of plan everything. And so we planned, majority of the match. And then what really got me was the parts of wrestling that you don't talk about in the back that he just did. And you really have to be someone that studies wrestling from all over the world to kind of pick up on these things. And it took me a really long time to like get to where Lee Moriarty is. He's like, what, 3-4 years in
Yeah,
now,
he's
right?
yeah. Yeah, he's
Right.
very new.
So yeah, so the things that he's picked up on now, it took me like 7 years to really understand it. And I make this joke all the time when I talk to, not joke, but I say this all the time with the guys I speak to about this stuff. But it's like, I think the guys that really study wrestling, they watch the guys that kind of like the heroes, the Claudios, the Danielsons, the Cabanas. And when they left Ring of Honor, because I'm like a student of Ring of Honor wrestling, I believe I picked up where they left off as far as like psychology wise. And I added mine on top of that with like a collection of things that I learned from other places. And I feel like Lee did the same thing. A lot of the things he did in that match were not called, and it was amazing. And we just kind of gelled. And like, whenever I talk about him, I bring up this one spot where I kick out, and he's like doing a lateral press on me. I kick out, and he looks at it, and he uses his foot to put it back down. In that moment, and that was in the early moments of the match, in that moment, I said to myself, this is going to be good. Like, I just knew I was going to enjoy this match thoroughly. And I did. And it was one of my favorite matches of that year, So, yeah, I don't know. I could say so much great stuff about Lee
Oh, I
Moriarty, but
love it.
I'll
And
probably.
funny you mentioned Alex Shelley. Like Lee told me that Alex Shelley got him like a spot on Impact. I think it was last year. Like got him booked there for a show as well, and really put over Alex as being instrumental. Now, I mean, we're here to talk a lot about Ring of Honor, but I'm so interested in like the indie dates that you do because you are one of the top guys in Ring of Honor, so your word carries weight. So when you're wrestling a Lee Moriarty, Starboy Charlie, even Myron Reed, who is in MLW, but you were wrestling him on the indies, like, is that something that you take back and you go, this guy can bring it, this guy might be worth bringing in? Are you like actively scouting? Because I'm sure whatever's good for Ring of Honor is probably pretty good for you as well.
Again, like, I don't want anything to come off braggadocious, but like I try to do my part because I told myself a long time ago that, like, to me, Ring of Honor is, and I'm probably alone in this argument, but I believe it is the independent trendsetter. Um, I can tell stories about that, but I won't really go into it. But it all starts in Ring of Honor, in my mind, And I think the wheel is round. For so long, we've been in this one genre of wrestling on the independents. And now I think it's time for the wheel to start turning again. And that wheel that's turning, in my mind, has to go back, has to revert to something similar to the origins of the way wrestling was supposed to be in the first place. And to me, the closest thing to that is basically having rules. And just so happened, Ring of Honor had a rule set that like makes things interesting. In my mind, if you go and watch any sport, whether it's soccer, hockey, football, whatever, there's rules that the players have to like play within those realms. And if they don't, it's just total chaos. So to me, that's what professional wrestling is today, is it's complete chaos. So now you give rules, now you can have heels and faces again, regardless of gender. So if you have a intergender match and now you put rules, no longer is the male the default heel. Because if the woman punches first, then she's the heel. And it works. So it all comes back to rules. So to go back to the question that you asked, I do go forward and talk about these guys. And selfishly, I speak about the guys that I believe would present the pure style the best.
Okay.
Because I think we have enough high flyers. I think we have enough brawlers. We need more, and I'm not shitting on anybody or speaking ill of anybody, but we need more guys that overthink the craft, because we need to present our company as something different. So yes, I go out of my way. After I wrestled Lee Moriarty, little did I know that I didn't need to, because I was told later on by one of the office guys that literally the office watched our match. And they went to the higher ups and they spoke very highly of Lee. And so I'm not sure if this is something that is common knowledge, but Lee was actually booked pretty much immediately after that for Ring of Honor. But somebody caught COVID at that collective show.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taken off. Lee was actually in quarantine. He passed. He was ready to wrestle, but they took all of us off that taping. So Lee would have debuted for Ring of Honor like a long time ago. I think right along the time he debuted for Impact. Yeah. But of course, COVID-19 and so.